Hi, I'm Chef Whitney Aronoff. I am a health supportive chef based in Southern California, and today I'm going to show you how to make my farmer's market pasta salad. This is a salad that I put together for my personal chef clients where I prepare them a custom meal prep, and I'm excited for you guys to make this at home. So today we're going to be working with vegetables that my clients love in this pasta salad, but you can really adjust this recipe for whatever is in season. So today we're going to work with red onion, zucchini, arugula, cherry tomatoes, fresh corn, fresh basil, parmesan, and a really nice locally made organic pasta. So let's just go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I am doing is, of course, boiling my water to get the pasta prepped. And then I'm going to start with my vegetables. So I like to blister my tomatoes first because I like those to get really soft and brown to go into the pasta salad. So I just add a little olive oil to my pan, get that going. And that way, while my tomatoes are going, I'm going to slice up my red onion, and I'll just keep slicing up my vegetables as I add them to the pan. That way it kind of saves prep time. It makes things a little easier. So we're going to let that go and get nice and hot. It's on a high flame. And once I hear that the tomatoes are sizzling a little bit, then I'll turn it down. So we're getting that nice sizzle. I'll go ahead and put it on a medium. And that will give me some time so I can slice up my red onion. And you only need a small red onion, and we're only going to use half of that red onion. So slicing a red onion for this dish is just super easy. So I'll just go ahead and kind of give it the half moon and chop it all up, and then we'll throw it in with the tomatoes. So you can see they're really popping, and they're going to start to break down, which is really nice. And we'll keep the red onion going. And one tip is, when you are slicing the red onion, stop when you don't feel safe. So if your fingers don't feel safe as you're slicing it because it's getting to the end, just stop and set that piece aside, and that'll just be enough. It's never worth trying to get that last slice if your fingers or your hand doesn't feel safe. And so these are starting to break down. I'm going to add my red onion. And this is actually when I add my garlic. So one thing I love doing is I love mincing garlic once a week. If I'm pulling out the Cuisinart because I'm putting together a basil sauce, a chimichurri, or there's something else I'm going to make in my Cuisinart, I go ahead and just mince a bunch of garlic. And the garlic lasts in a little jar for about a week and a half to 2 weeks. I actually do this for a lot of my clients. They love it because so many people love garlic. So when I'm at my clients, I pull out the Cuisinart. First thing I do is mince a bunch of garlic. And then once I scoop all the garlic out of the Cuisinart, the residue that's in there is exactly what I need for whatever next recipe I'm putting together for them. But then they have this little treat so they can saute their vegetables, anything that they've prepped with garlic, and it's just a nice time saver. So what I just added was about two garlic cloves. You can add 1 garlic clove, 2 garlic cloves. It's all your personal preference. And I like adding it in after I've added the tomatoes and the onions, so that way the garlic doesn't burn and overcook. So I'm just going to stir that up, let it all start to break down, and now I have time to slice my zucchini. So zucchini, summer squash, whatever you can pick up at the farmer's market or the grocery store will work. You know, this is their peak season. And you do always want to buy organic zucchini. All the conventional zucchini in the United States is genetically modified. So if there's one thing that you're going to splurge on your summer squash and your zucchini being organic. And so for this zucchini, when I think about how I'm going to slice it, I think about how do I want my pasta salad on my fork when I eat it. because that's really what it's all about. So like, how many different flavors and textures do you want to get in one bite? And that's how I think about how I'm going to slice my vegetables for a pasta salad or a regular salad. So what I'm going to do with this zucchini here is I'm going to quarter it so it's in bite-sized pieces. So that way when you eat the pasta salad, you can get a little corn, a little arugula, a little Parmesan, basil, zucchini, a little bit of everything in one bite, so it's more flavorful and enjoyable. And again, whenever you're working with vegetables, you always want to make it easy for you to slice, so you want to find the flat surface. So it's a lot easier if I slice the zucchini when it's like this versus when it's wiggling like that. So I'll just give it a nice slice down the middle. And again, just kind of in bite-sized pieces. And another great thing that helps me do this so easily is the scale of my cutting board. You see that I'm not working with a tiny little cutting board. It has a really big dimension. And so that means I can slice up different things, put them to the side. It really makes your life a lot easier. That one I just gave a bad slice to, but we're gonna work with it anyway. So I want to get my onions a little more translucent. So we're going to give it a few more minutes before I throw in the zucchini. And so in the meantime, I'll go ahead and take my corn off the cob. Whenever I take the corn off the cob, I put it straight into a bowl. I find it's a lot easier than taking the corn off the cob right on the cutting board, because the kernels will go everywhere and you'll lose half of them on the floor. So I always do this with a bowl, and I just give a sharp knife. A serrated knife works well. So if you have a really good serrated bread knife, that does a great job of taking the corn off the cob if you find that your chef knife isn't sharp enough. And today I'm using 4 ears of corn. That's what I tend to use for this recipe. All right, so I've sliced all the corn off the cob, and our tomatoes are getting nice and blistered. They have some brown spots, which is wonderful. They're getting super soft. You know, we're getting that nice kind of browning on the bottom of the pan. The onions are looking more translucent. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the zucchini. And then perfect timing, my water is boiling, so I'll be able to start cooking my pasta. And what I love is not cooking the pasta ahead of time. I love cooking the pasta as I'm preparing the vegetables, because when I take the pasta out of the water, I want to immediately blend it with the vegetables and the olive oil and the garlic, so the pasta absorbs all the flavor. So we're just going to let that go. And what we're basically are going to look for is, we'll know it's time to add the corn when the zucchini has started to get a little translucent, because the corn takes a minute or two. So what I just added was trumpets, organic durum wheat trumpets. The reason I'm using this type of pasta is because it doesn't clump together when I make a pasta salad, and it absorbs all the flavors of the pasta salad and allows for the vegetables, the Parmesan, the arugula to kind of stick to the side. So my clients have found that they really enjoy this cut when it comes to a cold pasta salad. So when you're trying to figure out what pasta to choose one that has the ingredients that work best with your body. So quinoa, brown rice, organic durum wheat. And then look for a shape that's really going to be able to collect all the delicious ingredients that you're throwing in with it, because that's what's really important. It's about the experience you have when you're eating the food. So trumpets work great. A fusilli, the really curly pasta, works great. You would want to stay away from doing a bow tie, because bow ties don't really collect all the ingredients very well, or the sauces. So as this cooks away, I'm gonna add my salt and pepper now, because that's what's gonna, help activate all the flavors. I do like to always measure out my salt and my pepper, because everyone else has a different sensitivity level to the two. And so that way I can become cognizant of what works with a particular client. So I suggest you try this as well, because you might figure out, oh, you know what? I really only like a half a teaspoon of salt in this particular dish. And then you'll never over salt it, over pepper it. It'll be right just for you, and you'll know what you used. So I'm gonna do a half a teaspoon of salt. And you can see a half a teaspoon was a lot more than what most people expected. And then I'm gonna do a fourth of a teaspoon of salt. And I always do less pepper than salt. In this case, I'm using a really coarse black pepper. So you're really gonna be able to see and taste the pepper in this salad. But if you only have fine pepper, that works too. I just really like the boldness of cracked pepper. I like to know and see my pepper in my food. But it's all personal preference. And my zucchini's really cooking down, so I'm gonna add my corn in just a second. And our pasta trumpets are looking beautiful. And let's give all that corn a go. So when you purchase corn, you'll see that there's white corn and there's yellow corn. I do like to buy the yellow corn for this recipe because it gives the salad more color and vibrancy. And my goal is to always prepare high vibration foods for my clients. That means vegetable packed recipes that are gonna raise their physical and emotional vibration. And another way that you can do that is just by adding lots of colors to a meal, especially colors that complement each other. So all this needs is about 2 more minutes. Fresh corn cooks really quickly. And then we'll be able to add it with the pasta, the arugula, the Parmesan, fresh basil, and you're good to go. All right, perfect. Our pasta's ready at the same time as our vegetables. We'll go ahead and pour it out. I'm gonna let the pasta sit in the sink and cool. So the great thing about this recipe is that it uses cooked vegetables. And the reason that's important is because cooked vegetables are so much easier on your digestive system. So if you're preparing a pasta salad with vegetables that are cooked, you may feel like a little lighter and easier to run around afterwards, because your body's not gonna have to work so hard at digesting the cruciferous vegetables or any of the vegetables in the recipe. And the last thing I do is I just drizzle a little olive oil, because the pasta is going to absorb it right back up. And then we're going to add in all of our beautiful vegetables. Like, look how pretty that is and how colorful it is. Like, immediately you think this is going to serve me well. This is going to raise my vibration. This brings me joy, because it's so beautiful and colorful. So another thing my clients love about this recipe is you can see it makes so much more food than you would expect, with, I think, very few ingredients. And so it stays good in the fridge for a full week. It's great at feeding a lot of kids. Once I have it ready like this, I set it aside, I let it cool just a little bit, and then I add in my arugula, my Parmesan, fresh basil, and then you're good to go. You can serve it right away, or you can let it come to room temperature, or you can put it in the fridge, and you can pull it out whenever you guys are ready to eat. And then again, try different pastas. In this particular recipe, you would want to cook your brown rice or your quinoa pasta all the way through, as the directions on that pasta suggest. But if you're ever working with quinoa or brown rice pasta and you're gonna bake it like in a mac and cheese, that's when you want to undercook the pasta. That is an alternative blend. All right, so the last thing, the finishing touch of the salad, is by adding fresh basil. And what I do is I just add it literally right at the end, and I put it on top so people can see and smell the freshness. And now you've engaged, so many senses, creating a beautiful high vibrational meal because you have the colors going, the smells going, local and seasoned ingredients. You're kind of hitting all the spots. And so you just keep going with your basil until you feel like, you've given it a good go. I always am on the side of more fresh herbs are better. So, when you eat out at a restaurant, you'll find that there's always just a little bit of mint or a little bit of dill. And I go the opposite direction. I think with fresh herbs, it's not just their health benefits, but their flavor. I think more is more. And in this case, it is better. So I think that's enough. You finish it off, you're good to go. And you have this nice, beautiful, colorful, high vibrational meal that you can serve yourself, your family, your friends, and that you can adjust all season long.